one of the biggest problems with Christian nationalism is it binds Christianity with America as if they're hand in hand. So one thing that does historically is now, if America is really God's promised land, which is almost, the interpretation that you get, then I can't really accept the negative things that America has done. So these are the people that will not accept negative stuff about American history. Objective facts. They'll get mad at objective facts about slavery, Jim Crow and all that, because their idol can't live in the same location as the truth.
Wow.
The light in their idol can't live, so they have to throw out. If you wonder why somebody don't like to talk about history, it just denies it because their idol can't live there.
Wow.
So that's one of the main problems with it, is it makes that connection. And then once you make this God's country, also when we go to war, we're in the right. So you can justify anything America does because we have that connection, and he brought us here, and now we're just doing kind of his work. Well, we can see how that gets us into trouble. I mean, not even Israel, everything they did was right. In the Bible, everything they did, guys, this is perfect. You're right. No, this is not how it works. So you get this Christianity that really is ideological nationalism using Christian symbols and all that. And I think that's clearly problematic. Then the people that you've hurt over that history, you almost have to dismiss them.
Wow.
Because otherwise you got to admit again that you did something very wrong. And so you might get a small apology, but it's always let's move on. We can't sit in this because that would compromise our narrative. Right?
Yeah, I think if I'm just, I know I've been talking a lot, but I think if I'm being all the way honest, I didn't celebrate Charlie's death. I was sad because I think every human being should have been sad to see somebody die that way. But one of the things that grieved me was seeing so many believers who appreciated Charlie not being able to understand why we might not be as impacted over his death in the same way that you are.
Can I I don't want to reword your language, but I also want to add to your language mid-speech.
Okay, yeah. Help me. Be my helper.
No, to say not only grieving in a way that's distinct, but also grieving, or they misunderstand, why don't you think he's a martyr? And it's like, because I heard what he said.
Yeah. Right.
And so it's not that I don't appreciate his stances on abortion, on sexuality, on marriage, but it's also I hear other things alongside that don't give martyr.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Thank you for clearing, because that's you actually said it way better than I want to say, because I don't want people to hear me saying that, I feel like he deserved it, I wasn't sad, or I don't even want people to hear me saying like, I don't think that he was a brother, because it's not my place to put him in heaven or hell, right? I don't think that he denied who Christ was. I think that he said so many good things, whether that was about same-sex marriage, whether that was abortion, whether that's, the deity of Christ and the triune God of Scripture. He said so many fundamental Christian things that I align with. But what I want people to understand is, like, I think sometimes Christian nationalism, not sometimes, most of the times, is so dangerous because it doesn't give people the ability to actually understand what we go through as Black people, or what we have been through. I'll give you an example. When Charlie, I remember watching the conversation when Charlie made the comment about it's Juneteenth today. Right. But Juneteenth is not a real holiday, so I'm going to work. Right. That might be very, very small to you. But for me, I grew up with a grandmother who I've seen probably cry 7 to 8 times about how she hated the fact that her father came back from this country and still didn't have the right to vote. Yeah. And so when I celebrate Juneteenth, not me saying I hate the 4th of July. It's not even me saying that I hate my country, but it's me recognizing that my grandfather has a different history than your grandfather might have, right? And so I think sometimes when I hear him say that, it was dismissive to my experience. Yep. It was dismissive to my family's experience. And so when he died, I'm going to have a different emotional experience if you never heard anything that he directly said that was offensive to you. Yep. And so I think sometimes we just don't understand that. And I think sometimes what Christian nationalism does, it says, because we love America so much, we love the 4th of July, and so we hate anything that looks different or looks like it's competing with our day. But it's like, no, if 4th of July was given to us for us to remember the past. Mm-hmm. That's the reason why it was literally given to us. If my grandfather has a different past, for you to dismiss how I experienced my grandfather, it's hurtful. And so it's not even about hating him or not thinking that he's a Christian. It's saying, no, maybe Christian nationalism kind of entwined with his theology in such a way that gave him an inability to see all people the way God probably intended. And so that's what I wanted people to understand.
You hit on.
Okay. So, I mean, what I'm getting from that is that they're attaching anybody that believes that America is a Christian nation as being a white person. Because, I mean...
Yes. That's... Because isn't that funny, though? Like, that you can't even, as a Black... They don't even consider that Black people think that way.
Right.
And not even the way they're saying, because they're twisting even Christian nationalism, right?
Right.
They're making a whole caricature out of it.
White evangelical sort of racist Christians that dismiss black people.
And there's no sensitivity to the past that they.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, I understand his point about like how people will dismiss Juneteenth. We make fun of Juneteenth all the time because it's one of those like thrown in there holidays that nobody like. People don't really. It's not taken seriously, but I understand what he's saying. Like, it's a way to acknowledge the past that our families had to go through to get to where we are now, right? But if you're acknowledging it as a victim, that's when it allows for you to be offended by what other people think.
I was going to say that you're he's talking about being offended.
Right.
That's something that should trigger you
as a Christian,
right. As a believer, for you to work on something.
That's something that's still an area where I need to work
inside of you.
That's allowing me to not see you as a brother, and even the idea of like it's not giving martyr because you said certain things. Like someone doesn't become a martyr because they did everything perfect. They become a martyr if their death impacts the body of Christ, or if it has an impact.
What does martyr mean?
Witness, like you said, it means witness.
Yeah.
But like if their death becomes witness, right, or becomes an impact in a major way, that's a martyr. You can't say, well, he's not a martyr to me. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
I also think there's a conflation of, like the other guy said it, where you think America's the promised land. Like you're conflating these things. Whenever we go to war, it's God is behind
all of
it.
That. I was going to mention, like, no one who believes, most of the people that are especially on, and this is the other thing I want to say, like, we need to come up with other terms and stop identifying with these binaries and these social constructs, even calling ourselves conservatives, calling ourselves, right wing and left wing and Republican, Democrat, because we don't fit into any of those boxes anymore. I don't believe that. But because that just allows for people to then put you in these categories like he's doing. But most of the people that are Christians, that are followers of Jesus, that don't believe in what the Democrats are doing and is totally against what the left is doing, have voted more in the right recently because it aligns more with us. Mm-hmm. We still don't want America to go to war. Even Trump is against going to war.
Yeah.
Like, so for you to categorize it like, oh, we're fine with it if America goes to war because it's ordained by God, like that's totally disingenuous.
Yeah.
Something I want to touch on, like, I think that what they're saying and what's going on a lot on the left is that people want to enter into these spaces to be heard more emotionally and to feel like they have a voice. That's even why it's called marginalization.
Right.
Instead of going into these spaces to actually bring the power of the gospel. And I'm talking about in the Christian sense, because we're supposed to be occupying these spaces. Because if we leave these spaces, Christians shouldn't be in politics. Okay, let's leave those spaces. Guess what's going to happen? Other people are going to occupy them, and you're going to see what's going to happen with the laws and everything else, right? Well, we shouldn't.
Hello,
shouldn't
London.
Be worried about.
Hello, UK.
Yeah, exactly. When we take ourselves out of the spaces, we leave room for other things to come in and take those spaces.
Yeah.
So we're supposed to be bringing in when I say gospel, I'm saying that we are supposed to be bringing in our lifestyle as a witness by surrendering ourselves to God into those places. We're not going to do it perfectly. We're not going to do it shiny but we're going to learn as we go to grow and grow more. Why? Because as we go into these places, we're going to get frustrated with opposition, right? And in that opposition, we learn to turn to the Lord and we grow in that, right? It refines us. We go to the fire and we're getting refined as we turn to the Lord, because in that we know that we can overcome everything. But when we're going in with our emotions and feeling like, I want to be heard, I feel like our voices aren't heard, we're going to prove a part of ourselves that doesn't even matter really in the long run.
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing that needs to actually die. But we keep trying to bring it to life, right? We keep trying to bring, no, you need to see this, you need to see this. When that stuff don't matter as much. Is that a part of our identity? Yeah, being black can be a part of your identity to a certain extent. But if that supersedes your identity in Christ, well, then we got a problem.
Yeah.
And I think we're putting that first.
We were just talking about that with Puerto Ricans and Bad Bunny.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Same thing. I sent you some of those videos, right?
Yeah. We played all of those already.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, and that's the thing that was the main thing for me with the whole Bad Bunny thing. It's like, you want to prove yourself. Like, with Puerto Rico, we got the Puerto Rican parades. A lot of Puerto Ricans want to prove themselves. They want to be heard. And I get it.
We're the best Latinos.
But I can understand that in our flesh, right?
Yeah.
But as believers, that's not what we lead with.
Yeah.
So that's what I saw from this. I don't know.
Yeah. Y'all do make the best rice, though.
Listen, that's like a island thing. No, Africans do it too. Like who's better? right?
Jollof with
Just in general, like what's the best island?
Culture,
You know,
yeah.
what's the best country? Yeah, people are competitive, but it's in group preference. We talked about all this earlier. We don't need to get back on that.
Yeah.
All right, let's keep going.
In many cases, as I watched Charlie Kirk, he was overly provocative and he was intentionally insensitive to marginalized people. He played about stuff, and we know. I mean, y'all in this game to be provocative. He wasn't provocative. Nobody.
We were just talking about this. What
Yeah.
Andrew Schultz was saying, because he showed that to not be true.
Mm-hmm.
And Van Jones, same thing.
Yeah.
But when you're being fed a version of him in your algorithm, that's what you're gonna believe.
That's. I mean, just watching that though, right? Like what's the woman preacher's name?
Jackie
Hill Perry.
Jackie Hill Perry.
Just watches her.
Yeah.
Sometimes, but what she said about Charlie just shows me that she don't watch the full length of how she, because they're all offended of how, you know, they think Charlie feels about the black community.
Right.
But that's so not true.
Yeah,
He cares about.
They have no idea everything that he's done for the black.
Hold on.
Yeah.
She didn't even know who he was.
Oh wow.
She didn't even know. Her husband did, but she didn't even know who he was. That's
So that's dangerous.
So again, it's
right?
an algorithm thing, right?
Yeah.
Bro, but that's dangerous, right? Because she's preaching. You know what I mean?
Well,
Like, she's leading people, and then you have something to say, and that's what I said about one of our friends who had an opinion on this, but do no research on it at all. You know, she's in a leading position, you know, where she can sway people to think a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I will say
think
on
that's
her behalf, though.
What's that?
On her behalf, she did say she went and researched him and watched him. Now, I don't know to what extent, obviously, but just giving her that, like, and I get when you can hear some things and you can get offended. I can understand that. For me, I like watching the whole thing. Like, I watched their whole podcast.
Yeah.
Right. So for me, I want to see exactly what they're saying. I want to highlight when they say some good stuff. That's why I played the thing at the beginning. Because nobody's wrong all the time. Like, you can talk to anybody. You know, like, what do they say?
Nobody's right all the time, you mean?
No.
I mean, a broken clock is right.
No, I mean, nobody's wrong all the time.
Were you about to say a broken clock
Yes.
is right?
Yes.
Today?
Yes. So I always try to look for some kind of like, okay, I like why they think that way, what's going on, and I followed Jackie Hill Perry for a while, so
we played her on here before.
understand.
She said some things that I agree with. You know, she talked about Beyonce. You know,
but I also know how long it took her to get there.
Right,
which for me seems so obvious.
Yeah,
you know, like it took her a while to get there.
Right,
where she was prideful in that before.
Yeah,
and I think in this. I think
especially for Black Christians, it's sad to say, but that is something that they really, really struggle to get over, that hurdle of racism, slavery, the Black identity, and reconciling that with the fear of the Lord. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
can we go to the next one? Because you guys basically talked about it's gonna be the same. So let's go to Lecrae.
Okay, I got you. Now, I saw a clip. Is this going to be in there where Lecrae had a dream about Charlie Kirk?
Yep, that's the first one.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I was one of the unfortunate people who saw the video popped up as I was researching. I went to bed that night, and I believe I was in Zimbabwe at the time. We left Zimbabwe, got to South Africa. I went to bed that night, and in the middle of the night, I woke up with severe stomach cramp, and I thought to myself, "Oh shoot, I might have gotten some kind of foodborne virus, or who knows what happened." And
Drink that water,
like, man. As I wake up, and I'm hesitant to say this because this is not like I'm not that type of person. As I wake up, I had a vision. I'm awake. It's not a dream. It's literally like my mind is overtaken by a vision. It was like the room turned purple, and the room turns purple, and I see Charlie Kirk being assassinated, blood, coming out of his body. And I heard what to me was the voice of demons laughing. And, it was like in an instant, and then it was like the curtain closed, and then the room went back to regular color, and it freaked me out. I'm not saying that because I had the dream that, Charlie was a martyr. I'm not saying that because I had the dream that, I have the full understanding of it all. I just know I had a crazy, not dream, vision, because I was awake. I've never had this experience in my life. What I believe it was an acknowledgement that this is not just a physical fight, that there's spiritual warfare going on. And it was like God opened up the curtains for me to see behind the scenes. The scripture says we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities and darkness. And it was like God opened up the curtains for me to see behind the scenes, like, oh, there's a spiritual battle happening back here. Now, I don't have an interpretation of what that means. I don't have an interpretation of exactly like why I had the dream or what God wanted me to get from it, other than to realize this was spiritual. Freaked me out because I come from a pretty theologically conservative background, and that type of stuff just doesn't happen. But this also is happening the day after I'm talking to a very conservative pastor in Africa who's telling me that the supernatural occurrences in this continent are just more frequent because people are used to it, because people are not objective, because we're not, you know, it's a norm. People use witch doctors and see, you know, practice sacraments, and there's lots of syncretism that happens. And so it happened to me while I was there, and I was open to it because I'd had this conversation with this man. So the next day I did post a video and I said, hey, I have to process it. There's smarter people about the subject of Charlie Kirk than me. I don't understand what he meant to the culture. I don't understand why he was killed. I don't understand the spiritual implications of what's happening. So I got to process. And as I've processed, some things are clear, some things are not. I'll tell you what's clear. What's clear is that we're dead in the middle of a culture war, and the enemy is having a field day. Left versus right, red versus blue, progressives versus conservatives. And oftentimes Christians are told to pick a side.
Dude, this is so crazy. We were just and I just was saying how we got to stop falling into those boxes, man. Yeah. Like, I've been feeling this in my spirit for like 6 months. Like stop even calling yourself a conservative. Yeah. Stop calling yourself, like, stop identifying with the right. Stop, like, you know what I mean? Like, stop doing that, because none of that is true. These are false, pretty much like little boxes that you force yourself into. And we got to stop doing that, because all we are is followers of Jesus. Mm-hmm. And whatever lines up with that is what lines up with that. Whatever doesn't line up with that is what we don't do. And that's where it ends.